with Kevin Owens looking to be taking the fall in the main event of the Day 1 pay-per-view and more. This is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for November 30th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Former WWE star Kairi Sane is going to be opening a 24/7 gym in Japan, tweeting about this, saying, "Roughly 10 years ago when I first debuted as a pro wrestler, my first paycheck was $450. I had another part-time job to make a living while living in a small warehouse-like apartment, dreaming of one day becoming a champion. Through living days of constant defeat and failures, I made my dream come true to become a champion in both Japan and the US. This was only possible because of the support I had from fans and from people around me. I've always wanted to show my appreciation to people in some form, and today I'm happy to announce the opening of a 24-hour fitness gym, Parafit 24. It is located in the Shonan Itsuhima area, which is the sister city of Miami Beach City, often referred to as Miami Beach of the Orient. Inspired by various gyms I've had the privilege to go to while living in the US, I want to offer a place where people of all ages, gender, and ethnicity can gather and be happy. And through my knowledge and experiences, I want to support people's mental and physical wellness. Giving back to society is my new dream, and I'm looking forward to making it come true." During his match against his brother Cody at Double or Nothing, Dustin Rhodes would find himself blading as he recalled that he cut too deep into the vein. This was due to his lack of blading from his time in WWE, with him telling Way of the Blade, "We didn't do that in WWE unless you got busted open by the corner of the post or something for real. It was a hard way of bleeding. It had been a long time and I was out of practice, let's put it like that. I went deep, I hit a vein, and it was excessive. I was actually scared at one point and Cody looked at me and said, 'Are you okay?' And I said, 'Yeah, I'm fine.' But I'm looking down and I've looked at the pictures from some of the photographers that took the shots, and they've caught it in midstream where the thing is shooting out and it's dripping out of my head. And it's constant. It did not stop. It would not stop, and I'm like, holy shit." At one point where I gave Cody a top rope superplex, we almost fell, and it was because I was dizzy, and it was slippery up there. It was like, we've got to go now. If I had waited another second, it would have superplexed him onto the rope, so we would have landed kind of diagonal onto the ropes, and it wouldn't have been good. It might have created some problems." Dustin was then asked about the first time he bladed, as he recalled this in detail, saying, "My first time was in 1988. It was with, do you remember Mark Starr? Yeah, he was there. It was Florida Championship Wrestling, and we were in the Sportatorium in Tampa, and they have a door that has bars on it. We ran the whole show there at the Sportatorium. They had the little bleachers around the ring. And my first time ever bleeding, I got thrown into the door, which opened up to fall outside. I hit it there for the first time, and I don't really remember if I hurt or what, or anything like that. It doesn't really hurt much to me because I don't feel anything anymore in my head. It's so hard. I just remember it. I remember the first time feeling really connected to pro wrestling because they looked at me. And I'm going to say it, red on the head is green in the pocket. I do believe that even today, when used properly now, not excessively all the time at every single show, when used properly, it is a huge drawing tool. It brings in a lot of revenue and business for the following week or the next month or whatever it is. And when used properly, it's really good for the company, or any company for that matter. And I do remember it. It was fun, and I felt a connection to the fans for the first time, I believe. And I just remember it was like it was yesterday. Mark Starr, me and him, boom. Sportatorium 1988. It might have been 89. You know, I'm not sure. With him now set to challenge Hangman Page for the AEW World title, Bryan Danielson talked on casual conversations about there being a lack of merchandise for him on screen. So AEW came up with a very nice "The American Dragon is Back" t-shirt. I think one of the things that has confused their merchandising people, and also confused the WWE merchandising people, is that I don't want to sell people things. So it's a choice. It also makes my life simpler in the sense I don't have to worry about what I'm going to wear to TV right now. So it's a white shirt and some joggers. There There's Steve Jobs, who was infamous for he would just do the black turtleneck and he didn't have to worry. I don't want to waste my time thinking about what I'm going to wear. Anyways, there's a certain aspect of that, but part of my service is this idea of how do we benefit the planet and all that kind of stuff. One of the things that is hard for me is, okay, if I'm trying to sell people stuff, am I actually trying to help the issues that are facing the world today, especially from a climate environment perspective? There are some places that need stuff. So it's like when you say consume less, it's like, what about the people in the poorest countries of the world? What about the bottom 1 billion? I'm not telling them to consume less, but I also don't want to be pushing people to consume more. I don't want to say, hey, buy my shirt, unless purchasing the shirt does more good than harm. Pay in WWE has been seen as an issue for many. On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was noted that athletes in most sports franchises make half of the revenue the franchise makes. WWE only gives up 10%, as Meltzer said. Becky Lynch is underpaid. There is not one person on this roster who is not greatly underpaid, including Roman Reigns and including Brock Lesnar for that matter. Based on if you were in any sport and the amount of revenue that you draw, the amount of revenue that you generate when you're talking about the percentage that the WWE guys get as compared to even the UFC fighters who are terribly underpaid. How much is a reserve lineman on an NFL team generating? Nothing. But because the players play the game and the players are the game, they get 50%. So an unknown NFL player is still making a lot more money than Drew Gulak, just for an example. They're all greatly underpaid based on sports standards. Forget the NBA, those guys make incredible money, but on any sports franchise, they're getting roughly 50% of the revenue. In WWE, it's under 10. So you could put everybody's salary up 5 times and then you're getting the level where you would be equal to the other sports. And if you did that, the company would still be wildly profitable. While many fans and critics gave praise to CM Punk and MJF's promo segment on Dynamite, Bully Ray was not a fan of CM Punk saying needle as he took to Busted Open Radio to say, so if I'm CM Punk, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna let MJF pile all those shots on me. I'm gonna let him get in as much steam on me as I possibly can because I know I don't have enough material to come back at him with. He doesn't have that much time in the business, and the amount of time he does have, he's been doing so well. If I'm Punk in that situation, and this is definitely a Monday morning quarterback call, because I haven't thought about this until now, I think I might let him get the best of me for real. Pile on so much heat that people are like, holy crap, Punk's in a lot of trouble, and then have to do the one thing that you can beat him at with your fists. That's why I thought the needle line was stupid. I'd like to punch you right in your needle. You're supposed to want to punch him in the face. Speaking of Punk, it was noted by AEW that he will be facing off against Lee Moriarty this week on Dynamite. There was an issue previously with Becky Lynch referring to herself as the man. Ric Flair had a problem with this, but he would end up giving the trademark to WWE on May 19th. Flair would discuss this further on his podcast, saying, I owned the trademark to be the man. If I own that trademark and then they use that trademark to create the man for Becky Lynch, which has been my label my entire career, I thought it up. It's mine and I own it. And I'm one of the few guys that own my intellectual property. Steve doesn't own Stone Cold, believe it or not. I don't think it's right, and he should have it. But when they get a hold of it, they're going to keep it. They have their reasons, and I'm not the one making those calls. I own my stuff. Hunter told me that Stone Cold is trademarked. I said, why don't you call her the Game? He said, that's trademarked too. I said, so is the man? He said, no, it's not. To be the man and the man are two different things. Please, it's old news now. It's behind us, but let's get the facts straight. They still don't own it. And if I get a chance and I get cleared legally, I'm going to go back and get it. On Raw, Edge returned for a war of words with The Miz, with the Rated R superstar saying Miz left John Morrison high and dry as he got fired. On Legion of Raw, Vince Russo talked about this promo segment, calling out Edge for not caring about this feud. Like, is this the angle? Miz doesn't get an Edge introduction. I don't get the attention you get. I wrote it down here literally like, bro, this is written for donkeys, like ponies. Like, who are you writing this for? And again, Miz and Edge get these scripts. Oh yeah, bro, that's the angle. I'm getting a big entrance entrance, and they're billboarding me coming back on Raw and Miz isn't. People will really get into that angle. Aside from their work rate, nobody cares. Edge does not care. They'll say whatever they're told to say. They're getting paid well. And bro, that's fine, but don't expect people at home to care. Morrison would react to this segment on Twitter writing, "Hey Edge, high and dry. Johnny Drip Drip is never not wet. By the way, when you jump into Miz's water, be prepared for a slaughter." On Raw, Edge mentioning the release of John Morrison was not the only time the recent cuts were talked about on TV. Becky Lynch was blamed for Ruby Soho and Sarah Logan being cut by Liv Morgan, with her saying that Becky's big contract was the reason they were fired. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful would report that it happened several times during the show, and I had former WWE wrestlers, former WWE producers, and a current WWE wrestler that were all telling me how bad a taste they thought that was. When it comes to the Day 1 pay-per-view, Kevin Owens will be taking part in the main event title match against Seth Rollins and Big E. On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was said that Owens could be on his way out of WWE, as he could be getting pinned in this match to not hurt the likes of E and Rollins. This allows them to stretch the feud out between Big E and Rollins, because Owens can get pinned and they can keep the feud going. Because on that side, as long as Big E is a babyface champion, it's going to be tough to put Edge in there. I mean, who is there other than Rollins and Owens? And Owens, we don't know how long Owens is going to be there. His contract is coming up at the end of January after the Royal Rumble, and then he'll have a decision to make. With Triple H needing a heart procedure in September following a cardiac event, he has been absent from NXT. Dave Meltzer would note that this cardiac event was said to be very serious. Despite this, Stephanie McMahon would tell TalkSport that he is doing great. Triple H was recently spotted during a tour of WWE's new headquarters, as we hope he is able to recover and return soon. Former WWE star Scarlett Bordeaux tweeted that she is starting an OnlyFans account, as she wrote it will probably launch in January. Of course, many fans would react in anticipation of this coming to fruition. Last night's Raw in UBS Arena had 5,887 fans out of 6,706 according to WrestleTix, while AEW Dynamite on December 8th at the same venue sold 8,658 tickets with a capacity of 2,983. Brian Alvarez would note on F4W Online that some in WWE have a theory behind this. You will be surely stunned to learn that there are a few people in WWE who believe Tony must be buying up tickets for the AEW show. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.